Look out.
Hello.
The Rev speaks.
I think he just might hit foundational wise guy wisdom right there, guys. That's
It
very
happens
good.
once in a while by accident.
Good stuff.
Even
Rev.
a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
Well, you find a lot of nuts.
I got to
don't
tell
you?
with this agony stuff, right, and this ways of thinking, I'm gonna personify it. I'm gonna call mine Bob. So whenever Bob shows up, I'm gonna say, Bob, you are now welcome.
That's a taste of agony and ecstasy. This week's episode of The Wise Guys, a podcast that unleashes the unthinkable in culture, religion, business, and everyday life. This week, they have some insight into just how complex we exotic cocktails are as we navigate the ups and downs of life. So, it's time to step over the line, strap in, and see if you are willing to let Mac, the Rev, and Coach Stu take you to a place of thinking differently.
Welcome to The Wise Guys, a podcast where we unleash the unthinkable, step over the line to help us see things differently, go to the inside edge, and stimulate new thinking. We might even answer some questions that you hadn't thought to ask. So hi, I'm Mac. I'm your host. And in this episode, we're going to peel back the onion on how complex our feelings and emotions are, tell some stories, and offer some perspective maybe on how to navigate this journey. So here we go. Guys, we're here. Coach Stu.
We're back. Hey, Mac. How you doing,
brother? Hey, man.
Glad we're back.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Coach. Good to see you,
What's
Mac.
going on,
I'm ready
Rev?
to get into my feelings.
There it is.
Let's do it. And let me say hello to all of those exotic cocktails out there.
Absolutely.
Hello, everybody. We're glad you're here. Welcome.
Yes, we are. Thanks for listening. Tell all your friends about it, for sure. We love it. All right. So let's see what we're going to talk about tonight. I've titled this episode Agony and Ecstasy. Now, before we even get started, Stu,
Yes.
you are Mr. Movie, TV, music guy.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Okay.
He's the
Am I
go-to
about to
guy.
be tested?
So here we go. Yes. All right. This is a test. Agony and Ecstasy,
Yeah.
the movie.
The movie. There is a movie.
There is a movie.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the movie about?
Oh, gosh. I don't
I have no
remember,
idea.
but I do know that there is a movie, but I don't.
All right.
It's got to be about agony and ecstasy.
Well, there it is. I would say so. All right. Here's the movie was in the early 60s, mid 60s, maybe. Charlton Heston.
I was going to say it was
The
an
Coach
old
wasn't
one.
born yet.
Yeah, it was an old one.
Charlton Heston and Rex Harrison.
Yep.
Charlton Heston was Michelangelo.
Oh, yeah.
Rex
That's
Harrison.
right. It was about Michelangelo
Yeah.
and his story, right?
Well, not his whole story.
Yeah.
But, and then there was Rex Harrison was Pope Julius II.
Right.
And what the whole story is about was Michelangelo painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
Yes.
And so everything that he had to go through,
Now I remember.
Pope had to put up with
Right.
it. I mean, it was really cool. So
Right.
there's that out there.
That
All
was a
right.
contentious relationship.
Yes, it was.
At the utmost.
But it was beautiful, right? I mean, at the end of the day, oh my, there's Agony
Yeah.
and Ecstasy. There it is. Okay, so there's why they named it that.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
amazing.
But here, I got a question for you guys.
Here comes the joke of the day.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Here's the wisecrack of the day, gang. I got a question for you. If one synchronized swimmer drowns,
Oh, that's terrible.
do they all have to drown too?
Synchronized drowning. Oh my God. This is the perfect wisecrack for the month of October. When at the end we go into horror.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe there was ecstasy and then agony too. I mean,
That
that
could
can happen
be.
as well, right?
Holy.
So there you go. There's a question to ponder.
That would be committed, synchronized
That would
swimming
be-
people.
You're in it. All right,
Yeah.
you're in it. Man. So there it is for the fun. But I entitled this episode Agony and Ecstasy, right? But here's what I want to start out with. It wasn't agony or ecstasy. It wasn't one or the other that we might experience or that might be out there, right? They're not mutually exclusive. So we're going to kind of start with that perspective. And so you don't have either an agonizing experience or an ecstatic experience, typically. I'm not saying that can't happen, but typically we're way more complicated than that. You know what we are? You know, we're exotic cocktails.
Yeah.
We are riddles wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Say that again. I want to hear that again.
Okay. We are riddles wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. All right? So we're complex. We're beautifully complex. Now, I can't take credit for that quote. You know who said it?
That's Winston Churchill.
It's Winston
Yeah.
Churchill. Okay.
Yeah.
And who was he talking about?
Russia?
Russia.
Yep.
Okay. So beautiful.
It's amazing.
You know, explanation.
I wonder if he came up with that like in the moment, or if he actually thought about
somebody
it and
wrote it for him?
and thought, "Wow, this is good. I want to say this."
or maybe somebody wrote it for him. I don't know. But we say you're exotic cocktails all the
Right.
time, don't we?
Yeah.
And we are. I mean, we're just so complex. It's so beautiful, right? So with that, I'm going to start with a story for you guys of agony and ecstasy. I'm going to tell you a little personal story. If you listen to our last episode, right, we were talking about the stuff in the news. We were
2 episodes ago now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
So we were talking news break was the name of the episode, right?
Right.
And I had four, news headlines that we were talking about. And afterward, the after party that we have, the three of us have, we started getting more into the political realm, all right? And I have a particular hot button when it comes to this election and stuff like that. And I kind of got heated about it all, and my perspective got a little crazy, and the guys were so loving with me that they actually were giving me, you know what you might want to try, come on, just think about this a little bit. And really what they did, both of you guys, thank you, I'm going to say that right now. Both of these guys looked at me and commented from a wise guy perspective, okay? They took a lot of the stuff that we talk about and they applied it, and it was so beautiful. But the human part of me and all of us, we're still a work in progress, right? We just still, sometimes we just don't get it, all right? But we're working on it.
Yeah.
Is life a series of waking up and falling asleep, waking up and falling asleep? I get up, I fall down. I get up, I fall down. And we lean into each other. At any given moment, one of us is going to be the one that lifts the other up.
Yeah.
And then maybe the falling down is a necessary experience.
Oh, I think it's critical.
It's where growth
process.
is when that happens.
That's right.
Those who never fail never do anything.
Yeah. Well, Stu I don't think we put it out as the Wise Guys Trio, but years ago when we were doing some memes, Stu sent me a thing, and I made a meme out of it that said, if we're so afraid, if our challenges cause growth or our mistakes cause growth in us, why are we so afraid of making them?
Yeah, right.
Right? Remember that?
Right. Yeah.
It was
We should be looking for opportunities to make mistakes, right?
Right.
Because we're going to learn and grow from
Yeah.
it.
So that was the agony part of
But
my
it was
story.
real.
Yes,
You
it
were
was.
real and authentic, and you were having a feeling, and you just put it on the table.
Yeah.
That I cherish that.
Well,
I don't want a relationship where you can't be human.
Well, hopefully you've got some of your tribe of 5
Right.
that you can talk to like that, right? That are going to love you through it. And again, here's the beauty, and I hope a lot of you are there or you get there. Not only was it these 2 guys listening to me, loving me, just hanging in there with me, but during it and afterwards, they were then going, okay, but. There was this but that they had. They said, okay, but Mac, think about this, think about that, try to work on this, try to do that. And that was really cool as well. We talk about mavericks, mystics, and mentors, right? All the time.
Yeah.
There was a mentoring. Okay. There was those guys mentoring me. So I think we need to now go to the ecstasy.
It was the invitation,
right?
the invitation to a different idea, a different concept, a different paradigm. Have you considered? I love that we use that all the time at this table. And but you had to be receptive to that.
Yeah.
You took it. Not a lot of people are willing to take that. So cut yourself some slack. I was impressed with your willingness to take some heat with the ands and the buts that were thrown at you.
Yeah. Well, again, that's not easy, but I think it's a product of the work that not only that I do, but that these two guys do. And I pray that you guys out there that are listening to us are doing, whether it's the suggestions that we make in this podcast, or you have another means by which you're receiving wisdom, fantastic. I mean, whatever it might be, press into it or go find it. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
So that was that. All right. So I came away from that episode, if you will, together. And the next week, last week, I went on vacation. And so my wife and I went on a cruise, and here's the universe getting involved. What's the comment?
Of course.
Of course. Here we go.
Whatever you're about to say, of course it happened.
So starting that vacation, and I had already committed it. And that vacation on the cruise, I was going to do more meditating. I was going to think about this whole thing that we just went through, wrestle with it a little bit, kind of, love the dragon in me, all of that. All right. We start out. We don't even get into the airport after taking the shuttle from the parking lot. I lost my phone.
Oh.
Okay? I lost my phone. Now, I'm going away for a week.
There goes the stress meter.
Okay? No phone. All right. Now, of course, my initial reaction, is one of a bit of panic, the stress factor, okay, all that, because you get on the ship, you like to have the app and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't get any texts, I couldn't get any emails, none of that. And so right away, I'm already a little bit on edge, and there's some more agony. But then as the week unfolded, guess what? I didn't miss it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really didn't miss
Unplugged.
I was going to say, some people might have seen that as ecstasy.
Yeah. Well, it came to be ecstasy. Absolutely. All right. So, there's how we start out. But through the week, all right, let's go to the ecstasy part that I had more aha moments. And really, we talk all the time. I talk all the time. We talk all the time on this podcast about letting the Spirit, I'm not going to say control us, but submitting to the wisdom of the Spirit of God, right? However you want to couch that, however you want to look at it.
Guidance.
Yeah.
Yes,
Not
guidance.
control, but guidance.
Right, control's not the right word, yeah. And so I really concentrated on that aspect of the whole thing instead of really, I did over the specific thing that really sets me off. I did actually go before and say, help me there. Very specifically, all right? But then I opened it up in a more broad sense to just say, just guide me. Just guide my heart, guide my mind, guide my actions. And so now this is the whole thing too. We just become, right? We just be instead of having
Just are.
Yeah.
So is it possible, what is that guidance, that Spirit guiding you towards? Is it always towards ecstasy? Or does the Spirit guide you into things that you might label as agony, as suffering, or as pain, because there's something good there?
Yeah. Well,
I want to follow God as long as God's leading me to riches and wealth and happiness and joy. But if God's leading me into the dark night of my soul, I'm not too sure I want to follow God's guidance. So the being says, no matter where you lead me, I will go. I will follow him.
That is such a great point, because we have an expectation that, okay, now it's time for ecstasy.
Right.
And maybe not, right? I think it's there at the end somewhere. I do think somewhere along the line we end up with some form of ecstasy, but it certainly doesn't mean that we don't go into the dark night or the ditch.
There's a beautiful baby on the other side of the birth pains. That's what I want to say. I'm becoming, and I'm going to have to go through the birth pains in order to get there. And it may not be pretty, it may not be comfortable, but on the other side, oh, wow, look at the new life.
Right. Isn't it? Well, we read a book. We did a book study years ago, and it was a guy by the name of Peter Enns. And he wrote this book called The Sin of Certainty. Remember that?
Yeah.
And Pete's whole, it's right on the book, his little tagline in that book is, God doesn't want your belief. He, or, whatever, creator, wants your trust. All right? It's not about belief. It's about trust. It's about taking that, believing that spirit. You trust it. You trust its guidance. You trust its wisdom. It's just unflinching. You can ground yourself in it. And I think that was great advice. At least it was for me, without a doubt. So
could ecstasy be on the other side of the agony? But I've got to trust God, the presence, my faith has got to lead me through the darkness to get to the light.
I think so.
I pulled up a scripture based on what we're going to talk about tonight. It's from James chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who remains steadfast under trial. For when they have stood the test, they will receive the crown of life, the baby, the new becoming on the other side. But I've got to go through and remain faithful and steadfast in the darkness.
It's more than zero.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
Not easy. It's an easy concept to read, not so easy to do when you're feeling it.
Yeah.
Well, this is how, we talk about how do you become wise? Like, what do you do in your life to get wisdom?
Right.
Well, challenges help us sometimes,
Absolutely.
right? And so, like, for instance, when you have to confront challenges, what's something that might happen for you? You might become braver than you were. That you wouldn't have the opportunity to do that if you didn't have the challenge.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, the intense highs and lows of life can really bring out the best in you, the best in people, right? Because both of these there's high emotion for both of these, agony and ecstasy, high emotion, both of them.
Right.
That's the similarity.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And, some dying, like Stu's saying, some dying to self is going to be required,
Yeah.
as you go through this. Unless you want to stay in the agony, okay?
Right.
That's your choice, right?
Kelly McGonigal did a TED Talk that just impacted my life in relationship to those difficult moments of agony. And she was talking about statistics, and she had the facts and the science to back it up, show that stress does not kill us. Not at all. It is the belief that stress kills us that kills us. So the consciousness I'm bringing to the adversity, the consciousness I'm bringing to the darkness, in the study, those who believed stress was bad actually ended up dying. And those that gave it no power but thrived through the middle of the dark night of the soul are the ones that just thrived and did amazing things.
Wow, how often do we do that? I'm going to say that most of the agony you experience is you doing that.
Yep, you're doing it to yourself.
You're doing it to yourself, right? Because if you try to make it be something else, that means you have no control over your life. And I say BS on that. You have control over your life. You have complete control what you think, what you do, how you respond to somebody. Right?
Yeah.
You get to choose.
I have a family member that constantly is reminding everybody else in the family the difference between adversity and adventure will always be your attitude.
Yeah.
And anytime you're whining and complaining, she says, the difference between adversity and adventure is your attitude. You might want to check your mind at the door.
Well, I had a little thing down here, so we're already there. Yeah. We suffer more in our imagination than in reality.
That's the truth. Yeah. That is so true.
There's a lot of people that have mistaken inconvenience for agony.
Right. We just do it to ourselves. This is a great point. All right. So agony and ecstasy, it can also, and Stu's already kind of talked about this, and so has the Rev, it can awaken a heroic response in us. And that's from Evelyn Underhill. I just love her.
Yeah.
But think about the ecstasy things the ecstatic things that can happen out of an adversity. I mean, they're endless, the possibilities there, right? But I think if your mind, this is great, Rev, if your mind thinks otherwise, then guess what you're going to get?
Yep.
Otherwise, if you don't have the trust and the hope, all right, and that's not a frivolous, idea. The hope isn't that I can be heroic in this, this situation, this dark night, this agony. You won't be. Plain and simple, right?
I remember driver's education when they first told me that if you were in a skid on the ice, to turn into the direction of the skid.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense. Turning in the direction of that tree where I'm about to go actually saves you. So is it possible with this that you turn your focus into embracing that difficult moment, embracing that stress? And you're going to have the faith of a hero to do that, but your becoming is on the other side of that. But it is counterintuitive to the fear. If fear is driving, you're going to turn the other direction, you will hit the tree. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's a great analogy, but I got to tell you, Rev, coming from the north, from Cleveland, Ohio, I love turning away from it because then we get to spin and do donuts and have all kinds of fun. But you're right. If you want to get out of it, you want to turn into it.
I don't think I want to get in a car with Stu.
Look at race car drivers, right? When they're taking the corners, like they're turning their wheel the opposite of what you would think to do.
Yeah.
You know, so they can get around that corner.
Well, this is new thinking. This is thinking differently, right? So with a different kind of thought like this, we're going to take a little break. We're going to pause for a minute, and we're going to be right back. Thanks for listening.
Like what you hear so far? Join us in the Rogue Nation by going to our website, gorogue.life, where you will find links to our social media and podcast channels, posts on the MacNuggets blog, and a way to subscribe to all our happenings. We encourage you to become a member of our cafe, where you can interact with us and fellow Roguers and keep the conversation going. Please share us and like us. Now, let's get back to our Wise Guys.
Okay, welcome back to the Wise Guys podcast, where we're talking agony and ecstasy. So it's been a great journey so far. We've had some personal stories. We're fleshing out what does that really mean, but also keep in mind that agony and ecstasy are labels. They're labels that we give a feeling or an experience. And so therefore we have a definition of agony. We have a definition of ecstasy, when in fact, sometimes I think we need to just do away with the label, and we just need to experience the experience for what it is, because the minute we give it a label, we compartmentalize it, and we have an expectation, or we think about it in a certain way, you know? And so if you're feeling what you might consider agony, don't call it agony anymore, right? Don't give it that label.
What do you want to call it?
Nothing, you know? Just let it be, you know? Let it be the experience. Don't try to define it. Don't try to label it. Because again, we're really good at that. I mean, we just compartmentalize everything. We put everything in its little box. It's got a little typed label on it. And consequently, we think we know what to expect from it. You know?
Is that something that can happen in the middle of the pain and the difficulty, or does it have to be cultivated before you get to the pain? Because if I'm in the middle of agony, constitutes pain, I don't have all my faculties about me. I don't have a rehearsed method and mechanism in order to go step back and go, isn't this interesting? With no label.
Well, that's a good point. See, what that speaks to is doing the work ahead of time. Right.
You cannot wait until you're in it to make the decision to think differently. It's cultivating a different mindset before you get there.
Oh.
Look out.
Hello.
The Rev speaks.
I think he just might hit foundational wise guy wisdom right there, guys. That's
it
very
happens
good.
once in a while by accident.
Good stuff.
Even
Rev.
a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
Well, you find a lot of nuts.
I got to tell you, with this agony stuff, right, and this ways of thinking, I'm gonna personify it. I'm gonna call mine Bob. So whenever Bob shows up, I'm gonna say, Bob, you are not welcome here. Shut up, Bob. Go away. So I can just tell him to get out of here, Bob. You're
there
gone.
he is. There's the Stu.
Did you ever see that movie, What About Bob?
Oh, yeah.
Richard Dreyfuss. It represents the suffering for him. The agony.
God, I love it. But I think in a couple of episodes ago, something like that, didn't little Bobby whatever
somebody poked
you?
a pencil in my leg. Is that the same guy? Holy cow. No wonder I'm telling them to get out of here. That's the agony that led to my growth.
So
led to your growth. So what if we it wasn't just interesting. It's here's another opportunity to grow.
There it is.
I brought a quote tonight from a guy named Ken Cloak, and he says, every conflict we experience in our lives occurs at the intersection or the crossroads between problems we now need to solve in order to grow and the skills we do not yet possess. Could it be that when I'm experiencing the agony, it's something wanting to be birthed, to create through me, but I don't have the skills yet? And so I call it suffering, as opposed to, I'm going to grow here. I'm going to learn a new tool. I'm going to learn a new skill. I love that crossroads, but I had not always loved that crossroads. I fought it.
Hardly.
Let me take all the back roads to avoid that place.
Yeah. No, this is the exotic cocktail in us. This is the the enigma part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, they're kind of just labels. We want to label them Bob. That's okay. But be careful with that is all I'm saying, because labeling it Bob is one thing. But labeling it agony or ecstasy, now you have a preconceived, unless you know a Bob, and then if you're going to do that, you're going to go right there, right?
I got to have a little fun in life, so this is how I have my fun.
Absolutely. So
if you ever hear me looking like I'm talking to myself and I'm talking to Bob, that's what's going on.
I saw a.
Do you see Bob? I don't see Bob. He's talking to him.
I saw a Far Side cartoon the other day where the little kid was standing in the living room and the dad was sitting in the chair, and his dad's shirt was like pulled up like this for no reason, and he says to the dad, I'll use your thing, hey Dad, Bob's just really tired you telling me he doesn't exist. Okay?
Oh man, that's good.
I thought that was great. Okay.
It's like that other movie. The calls are coming from inside the house.
Oh my gosh.
It's a Halloween time. Yeah,
Yes.
Bob's coming from inside you, not from outside you.
Right. That's true. That's true.
But here's the thing about agony and ecstasy too, or these experiences. If I'm using a label, but I already told you not to use a label, right? Many, many times, and I'm going to almost say usually, but maybe not for you. They're common. They're both in your experience. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you kind of think of the yin yang, symbol, that maybe you're having an ecstasy experience, and then a lot of times there's still that little black dot in there, right? That's the agony for whatever reason, and it's there, it lurks, it's in the back of your mind. I remember one time I went to this seminar and it was about investing, and we were doing all this stuff, and I learned for a whole week. I'm learning all these techniques and I'm learning all this stuff. And so then you sit down with them, the people that gave the seminar, and they're starting to go through, and, of course, a lot of the questions they ask is, okay, well, what do you hope to get out of this? How much money do you want to make? What do you think it looks like? And I remember looking at that guy going, I'm a little scared by how much money this might make, And the guy goes, what? How can he didn't understand that? It was kind of like, whoa, And so I think we have those things. And my counsel is, my thought and why I'm bringing this up is to just let it be there. Okay? You don't want to fight against either. If you're in the agony and you're loving that agony, it gives you're a martyr maybe, or you're whatever, you're comfortable in that agony because for whatever reason it kind of feels good. When that little bit of ecstasy starts to creep in, somebody gives you a ray of hope. You see something, you feel something, and you're going, oh, no. I can't, go away, But they're there, all right? And I guess that the idea is just be aware. Be aware and don't try to fight it, And it's common experience. It's who we are. They exist either at the same time, not in the same degree, but we're complex. And so those things are going through our brain and going through our emotions a lot, and recognize it, but don't try to fight it, and don't think there's something wrong with you.
Are there good emotions and bad emotions, or are there just emotions? And they all, by right of our consciousness, can be used for a higher purpose. I tell you, I've learned a lot through anger. I've really learned a lot through sadness, which could be, I'm not going to call it agony, but it emotionally felt like agony. This is not what I would choose right now. When you make peace with it, that sadness is a necessary partner to my joy. And it's dancing with the joy, the yin and the yang that you talked about. Yeah. That it's all part of the human experience, and it's not an accident that we're having this experience. Enjoy the ride, throw your hands up and say, let's go. The idea, if there are no bad emotions or better emotions, they're just emotions, tools and instruments through which the universe, through God maybe, through life, help us become more of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy to say, not so easy to do it when you're in grief and you're in sadness or you're in pain or, depression even.
Yeah.
I never dismiss any of the emotions, right? Like some people think, well, it's bad. I'm a bad person if I get angry or I get sad or whatever. I don't
Not
never.
at all.
And I remember with my daughter, I used to talk about this, and she would get sad or angry. Let's say angry, right? She would get angry. And I'm like, okay, how long are you going to be angry for?
Yeah, I heard.
Right? And she would say, what do you mean? I said, well, you're angry right now. She's like, yes, I am. I'm like, and that's okay. You can be angry, but for how long? And it can't be forever, right? So she would tell me, okay, 5 minutes, right? And guess what would happen? And it would be like that, 5 minutes. And guess what would happen? 1 minute later, she was fine.
Yeah.
And she never even made it to the 5 minutes.
No, I don't.
So it's about letting it flow through, like
Allowing.
not ignoring it, but
Allowing.
letting it, flow through you. And I think that's important because what if we looked at agony from a different perspective? Like, you probably think of it as being negative, right? Like that would,
Well,
you
that's the label.
wouldn't say a positive.
That's the
right?
label.
But what if we
Yeah.
looked at it as a positive? Like, how would that change it?
Well, and I
for
think
you?
we've been talking about how perspective on it. You've been
Well, I mean,
talking
there are
about that,
people
Rev.
all over the
Same
planet
thing.
that have
Yeah.
said since the beginning
Right.
of time, no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
Well, there might be something to that.
Right.
The pain is leading me to the gain, to the greater.
I mean, again, it's perspective, and we don't mean to minimize trauma and deep, stuff that happens.
No,
we
not at all.
get that, okay? Again, though, I think these seeds of wisdom can be applied. I'm just going to say, in any situation, now like it may be just a little nugget, it may be just a little spark in there in the midst of something horrific, all right? But if you at least plant that little seed in there, I believe that it will grow.
Well, and consider that may be the avenue to find your tribe of five. We talk about our tribe of five, those people.
Yeah, right.
And when you're down on your knees and you're asking for help and you're in that deep place of deep pain, the people that are your tribe will show up and they will be there. And you may not have even recognized they were there.
Yeah.
I've seen more transformation at the hospital bedside than anywhere. Oh my God! All of the conflict, all of the argument dissipated, and it's like, I'm here for you right now because you're in that pain. I'm going to share that load with you. I'm going to share that pain with you. I think that I would say in my tribe of five, there's at least two.
Wow.
That I know.
That's awesome.
That I learned that they were my tribe of five when I was on my knees.
No, hello. That's awesome, for sure. Well, we did a meme a while back, and again, I don't think I've ever posted this one, but here's the meme. Luminous darkness is not an oxymoron. It's a mystery of life to be attained. And I think that's what we're talking about here, that, agony and ecstasy is not an oxymoron. You don't want to take an attitude that says those don't go together. Sorry, they're opposites. All right. I think we've been reinforcing that almost all along here, but I wanted to just again reinforce the fact that you got to get rid of this dualistic thinking. Okay, it's not A or B, and there isn't an A necessarily and a B. Okay, when you say agony and ecstasy, just bundle them together. Call it a different thing. Call it
being human.
That's even better. I love it. We're exotic cocktails. Didn't we start out with that? Okay. So how beautiful. So again, don't try to dualistically think about these.
You know what? I think I'm coming up with another persona.
Uh-oh.
All right, here
All
we
right.
go.
Here we go.
So this is going to be Agony and Ecstasy.
All right.
And they're good buddies. They hang out. They walk life together. And they hang out. Can you imagine this?
Like frickin' frack.
I mean,
There's a song coming on here.
There's a song coming. Look out, Rev. We got to bring the piano here, or the keyboard here or something.
Oh, Lord. Here we go. Oh, my gosh. These two guys.
No mud.
Here we go.
No mud, no lotus. To get Buddhist on you here. No mud. The lotus does not grow without the mud. They are buds. They're in partnership, in synergy, in co-creation together.
Well, I think a lot of things, that's the way the universe works, okay, without a doubt.
Well, everything is here on purpose, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we're talking agony and ecstasy, like so let me give this example. would you know what good was if there was no bad?
Well, and,
You know, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
saying the obvious, but it's the
Right.
same thing with this.
Right. Well, I think one place that's a great point, Stu. And here's where a lot of times that goes. Why would God? ...
Here we go.
Okay. And again, this.
Why did you do this to
Yeah,
me?
this episode isn't about the. We believe
I
me.
take full credit for all the good in my life, but I give all the bad credit to God.
Yeah. It's all God's fault if any of the bad stuff. Or
Yeah.
I don't want to run a big rabbit trail here, but I know I brought it up. We can do an episode on this at some other time. But now there's this evil force out there that contradicts God, and that, then we got that whole, component that we add to this whole thing too. So I'm bringing it up, and I'm just saying, look, if your faith tradition, causes you to, in some ways, kind of go there, all I'm asking is, with this brief little, snippet, to just think a little bit differently about that. I mean, we're not going to have a big. Maybe we'll do an episode on something like that in the future. Okay.
Did someone say
I like it.
Satan?
Oh gosh.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Well, I think we're kind of in the month of that anyway, aren't we? All right.
Yeah, yes, we are.
So, I think this is really cool. God, I hope there's some wisdom in this for you, Rogers. I really hope that, play this over again, right? Come to grips with a couple of nuggets out of this whole thing. I don't think it's too hard to do, to be honest with you, all right? So now maybe we're going to apply some of our typical thinking to this, and we're going to look at it. Maybe what can we see as we're a little bit of a maverick? How can we maybe apply some of that perspective that we might have to this situation? All right. And I'll start out just by saying these guys have their own that they might want to add to it. But, and I learned this several years ago, we got to embrace the dragon. That's going out there to the edge and saying, I'm not going to take my sword and slay you. I'm going to embrace you because you're me. All right. And that takes a bold, perspective to just buzz out there and not confront, but embrace. That's a maverick, man. That's a maverick attitude. I think we can be mavericks in that situation for sure. I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I already said a maverick perspective when I said let's look at agony from a different perspective than being negative. Let's look at it as a positive. That's like a maverick perspective. Like, I know everyone's looking at you as being negative, but nope.
Right.
I'm looking at you as a positive. You're going to lead to transformative growth for me, and thank you for that. Right. I'm even going to have gratitude for it. Yeah. I mean, who would ever say that?
Well, and that's not coming from a place of ignorance. Is I know this is going to hurt.
Right.
I know this is going to be painful, maybe the most painful thing I've ever faced in my life. Right. But my view, the maverick has the view of what's on the other side of the pain. So I welcome it. I want to hurt a little bit.
Let me talk from the coach's perspective. All right. Here, and this is me, not only as a wrestling coach, but as a power lifter.
Well, which is mavericky to start with. Okay,
so
go ahead.
I've been waiting for this metaphor. Thank you.
Here we go. So a lot of you out there that are lifting weights may not realize what you're doing, but you are tearing down your muscles so they can be built back up. Stronger, better, faster, bigger. I mean, that's what you're doing. This is the perfect metaphor for that.
Oh, it's not only that, is it a meme? Okay, I'm going to come up with it.
Is that a meme? Yeah, it's got to be a meme.
Yeah.
And how many of us quit? I lifted the weights, and it was like the next day, I'm really sore. This hurts. I'm not going to do that again. No, do it again in another day and get bigger, stronger, faster.
So let me add to it, right? So how do your muscles rebuild? Well, you have to have the proper nutrition, right? They've got to get the right amount of rest. So there's other things to do besides just tearing down to muscle for it to rebuild.
Yeah.
So it's not just that action. It's also nutrition, good sleep, the way you think. I mean, all of this contributes to building that up.
Well, I think what you're saying is that when you create space, it's going to fill. I mean, it will. Well, nature abhors a vacuum. Remember that whole kind of saying? So you want to be sure that you're prepared to fill that space.
So let me ask a question to the coach
better
here,
stuff.
though. Yeah, you got to fill it afterwards.
Right,
But if
right.
you're not prepared, if you go lift and you haven't got the nutrition down, you don't have the lifestyle down, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to. You might get hurt.
This is true.
Right.
You have to have the prep work.
You are right. That is how you get injured.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
No,
Which-
not about it. You got to do the work. I mean, come on, you got to do the work. Okay. So that's the maverick perspective. How about the mystic perspective? The mystic perspective, and one of my thoughts about that is you got to, who's watching this on YouTube right now? Okay. Yeah. You got to eliminate the dualistic thinking about these two things, that they're separate, that they're over here, one is there, one's attributes are unique to it and the other one to it, and they're, never shall the two meld or be similar or work together or be experienced together. I think that takes a mystic perspective.
You mean I can't, with the mystic perspective, I can't say there's Bob and me.
Right.
There's the dragon and me.
Correct.
It's only one of us here.
Correct.
Bob is me. The dragon is me.
That's right. That's exactly right. And you want to learn a little bit more about this, I'm just going to put a plug in here that there's a documentary out there called Finding Joe. It's out there on YouTube. Watch it if any of this resonates with you, because I did, and it changed me big
That's
time.
good. That's
Okay.
good. Well, I've already made Agony and Ecstasy best friends, so
Yeah, that's right.
That's my
That's
mystic
a-
We're
perspective.
going camping together next weekend.
All right, and then we're going to end with the mentor perspective, and we've already hit on this a little bit, and that's seek others, and seek wise peers that will your tribe of five. We've talked about that, but if these people, let me just say this: you're going to have a damn tough time trying to navigate life, let alone any of this kind of stuff all by yourself. Okay. It's just not, you're not going to play the game well.
Mac, let me point something out about this, about your tribe of five and about what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
You may find others that are already there, but that's not the goal. It's just finding people that are willing to be on the same path as you, on the journey with you.
And support you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm going to stand in the fire with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So they may not have arrived yet, just like you haven't arrived yet.
Right.
Right? So, and that's okay. But you may find people that have.
Sure.
And they're great to have in your tribe of five.
Absolutely. They're a good tribe five.
And there may be people that aren't even where you are, and you're going to help bring them. So, I mean, it's not like the tribe is, to me, I in the beginning when I first thought about this, I thought everyone's like elevated above me. And then I'm like, I'm the one that's like holding
You're the
everybody
grasshopper.
back. Yeah.
Sometimes the mentor is the guy next to you on the right and the left saying, I'm just as scared as you are, but we're going to do this together.
Right, but I love
Yes.
you.
I love you and you love
Yeah.
me, and that's going to be enough to walk through this
That's
fire.
right.
So
That's exactly
so
right.
it could be anybody
Good point,
that's
man.
around you, right?
Good
I mean,
point.
yeah.
Yes, as you start to look for this. So great nuggets, gang. Right? Great nuggets. And you need action. We've talked about that all along. You got to prep. But we're going to challenge you to some action, I think, if you so decide, right?
Yeah. Let's get that action running. Where is that action?
Where is that action?
I'm
Bob?
pushing my button and it's not working.
That was your cue, Bob.
Button, who's got the button?
Oh, wait, here we go.
Oh, I hear it.
There it is.
Here we go.
There we are. Technical difficulties. So, your ongoing mission, should you choose to accept it, is decide to go rogue.
Just do it. Just do it.
Find like-minded roguers, your tribe of five, right? They need to just strap on the armor. You need to do the work. You need to be ready. Hoorah! You need to storm the gates. You need to storm the gates of that thinking that you have and that others have that hold them back, and enlighten yourself and them. Storm that gate of mediocrity, I guess I'll call it today. And then lastly, you just unleash the unthinkable.
Giddy up.
Yeah, man, you go to the inside edge. So we leave you with that, as always. Great stuff tonight, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Always good to spend time
Appreciate
with
it.
you.
Love it.
Thank you. All right. And thank you for listening. We hope you'll tune in next week. With that, have a great week. We love you guys. Take care.
Wow, you made it and can now unbuckle. Thanks for listening to Agony and Ecstasy, where the guys applied some maverick, mystic, and mentor perspectives to our challenges when dealing with our agonizing and ecstatic experiences. Remember to visit the website at gorogue.life for lots of follow-up information. See the show notes for any links to episode content. Check out the Mac Nuggets blog and join us in the ongoing cafe conversation where we post some thought-provoking ideas and challenges for your roguish conversations. Oh, and of course, tell everyone you know about us and like, follow, and engage. Be sure to tune in next week when Mac unleashes another unthinkable conversation. That is, if you dare.